It's a very interesting feeling watching something I like and getting to talk about something I'm enjoying.
Particularly since you have to suffer through Acolyte.
Yes.
I mean, I've watched Acolyte and now I can't help but compare this and go, wow, like this is a slightly cheaper show. We're getting 8 episodes, but they're an hour as opposed to a film we didn't edit properly.
The sheer fact that this is an hour and 7 minutes and feels like an episode.
Yeah.
I bang on about it all the time because I'm a bit of a structure wanker. You get a beginning, middle, and end, whereas like most Acolyte episodes have to start in the middle and then they just end and you're like, cool,
Yeah.
I'm glad we did this. Glad we didn't get anything for the characters. Like no one starts and ends in a different spot. Whereas in this show, that's all we get and it's beautiful.
It's great.
I would consider this more of a talky episode. Like this episode ended, my wife was like, that was a lot of talking. I'm like, but it was good talking.
Good. It's different than Game of Thrones. With the main series, it's an actual narrative, and this is a backdrop to that actual narrative.
Yes.
Like, Arryk and Erryk is referenced as like a little bit of info in the first Game of Thrones book. So it's kind of wild, I imagine, for some book readers who read that stuff back in the 90s to now be seeing Arryk versus
All
Erryk.
the dads are very happy.
Yeah, it's really great to see this come to life. In this episode, we really get to explore the generations, the difference in the generations of particularly the Greens. I thought it was a really great choice that the opening 15 minutes is all on Greens at the Red Keep.
Yep.
And we open on Aegon smashing his father's life's hobby.
You rip old Valyria yet again because it means nothing to him. He doesn't give a damn about old Valyria.
And it's obvious symbolism of it. It's a different rule
Have we ever
now.
seen Aegon on his dragon?
Technically, we have seen Sunfire at the funeral episode resting, and then when all three
But we've never seen
children
him
flew
riding
off.
his dragon. Like his dragon almost doesn't matter to him versus everyone else that is like, Aemond is like, we're strong because of dragons. Daemon is like, we're strong because of dragons. Whereas Aegon's just like, I'm the king, baby.
Yeah, his dragon works, as we get into this a bit more, in a kind of marketing aspect.
Okay.
He has the golden sigil on the green backdrop because his dragon is the most beautiful dragon there ever was, Sunfire, the golden dragon.
Ever since the white one got wrecked.
Yeah, so it looks good to, the small folk, that there he is,
Yes.
the golden king on his golden dragon, and that's where the use is there. It was even though it costs money, I was always a little bit annoyed in the crowning bit where in the book he flies around the city and
Right.
Alicent crowns her daughter and goes, "You're queen now." I was always a bit annoyed they got rid of that little bit, but whatever.
The dragon bursting out from under the ground works less if your other dragon was also just nearby a second ago. I don't
Some
know.
people got a bit annoyed at that because they thought it got into the worser parts of Game of Thrones where big things would happen to no effect. But
At the end of an episode.
yeah, I can promise you that actually will add to something that will come much later on.
Okay.
And if they're doing it properly, that is. I'll point out that this was written by Sarah S. and directed by a woman who directed some episodes last season. And I think it's a really positive example where, if we're looking at Acolyte and we're over there making bad music videos saying you hate it just because we're women, here's a really positive example of I'm, loving this show.
So is the online sentiment pretty good for this
for
episode?
For my searching through, the basic on the deep Reddit pages, everyone seems pretty pleased and into it.
Good.
And yeah.
I really enjoyed this episode more than last week to a degree because it gets more into the characters that I was a bit off on. Like we get a bunch more Kristen Cole, we get some more Aemond, we get the Daemon character motivation that I was a little confused about because I think a lot of people were bringing their knowledge from the books and being like they're adding to their own Daemon lore. Like even you said he wants to be king. Like he says in this episode several times, he gives away that opportunity to take power.
I mean, yeah, we got it felt like 2 episodes in one in a good way.
We got quieter moments with all the characters instead of it being this character has to do this one thing. It's the character is left with their own thoughts or the character is left to dwell on previous stuff. Unheard of versus last season, we jump straight into where we ended the last episode.
Yeah.
Like the Greens are scrambling around because there was a kid just got their head cut off.
Yeah, and it's horrifying and it's completely relatable. And I think they went too far in making Aegon seem like a prick when, if you remember, when Arryk and Erryk go to like the children fighting picks and he bets on children fighting and obviously has had a bastard. And
Yeah.
it seems like he was quite a darker character. But then in this, it feels like that's been not retconned per se, but obviously we wanted to emphasize that this is a man capable of love, and that's something that the actor Tom has said that he really wanted to emphasize that this guy can love someone.
It could be a victim of the time skips as well. Like we didn't get to spend any time with Aegon last season, except when he was doing his big moments.
I'm never going to say they ruined the book. The book's fine. It's right there and always will be there. And I'm fine with changes happening. I will always compare, but I understand they're two different mediums. That's a fake history book, and they're writing actual narrative. So they're using that as a really detailed like story layout, basically. Yeah. And with George right there helping them along so far.
So it starts everyone scrambling around after the murder of Jaehaerys.
The children are much more emotional, like Aegon, a very emotional reaction to obviously his son's dying, and he wants to immediately go to war. He's declaring war, while Otto and Alicent are trying to go about it in a more political what's happened. Like Otto is particularly good at extracting his emotions. Like we can imagine he's obviously upset that his grandson's died, but he's immediately thinking about how does this affect his job.
The only idea that Aegon has is to go to war and to like and subscribe and leave a comment.
So when we go to Small Council and we get this, well, we don't know if Rhaenyra did this. And I thought it was interesting that Ryan Condal spoke in an interview that he viewed the history book as being in that section, like, we don't really know what or why it happened. Like, if it was Daemon, if it was Rhaenyra. So it's kind of a bit of propaganda against them. So he feels trying to make it seem, well, Rhaenyra is... Even though she says, I want Aemon Targaryen, she didn't directly go, I want you to go and specifically do this.
Doesn't have to be by sneaky. I just want that man dead in general.
Exactly. And we see Aemon, he finds the entrance to his apartments where he was, and he finds the gold coin, which is the hint that obviously someone was paid some money to do this. I
really liked the way that they spin it is for the small folk again. I do enjoy that they're thinking about marketing and the way the small folk kind of matter, even though the small folk kind of don't care, but they are just the masses. You can just sway them with clever things like we're gonna have a funeral procession. No one wants to do this, but if we do it, then the small folk will feel sorry for you.
Which is a really good addition, and I'm 99% certain that a funeral procession is not highlighted.
Right.
I mean, one can assume they probably did have one.
Well, it works so well, and it adds to the horror. Like, especially when it gets caught in the puddle and everyone's gathered around to knock it. I'm like, this is Game of Thrones. Is the baby going to fall off the goddamn like, and then Helena's freaking out because she doesn't want to be there.
I was happy that it ended where it did, and that obviously the hitting of the drum collides with Aegon hitting blood in the head. If Larys did clear out all the spider's people, then obviously the spider had a connection with Cheese, so Larys would have maybe been aware that Cheese had a connection with the spider. So did Larys allow this to happen?
Yeah.
And there's a theory that he's a green sea and he can see through the rats. So she's afraid of the rats because of...
So green sea is...
green sea. They can,
it's a
like
warg.
Bran, yeah. For me, so far, he just seems to be just kind of sowing chaos.
Yeah.
For chaos' sake. I keep thinking of, some men want to watch the world burn.
For me, it seems like he definitely wants to work his way up, obviously. And
chaos is a ladder and all that.
But killing his own family is still a bit sketchy for me. I probably would have liked more with Larys, but I'm sure that'll come. I got my Daemon and I got my Cole stuff. Still don't like Christian Cole.
They've added this like Shakespearean to the language. They've spoke about it before. It's not Shakespearean in like its tenor or like that, but there's that energy to it.
Yeah, I noticed that the language was much more flowery and old-timey, and I liked the way they did it. They didn't go too much into it, and it felt very natural. So, like, these actors are damn good at speaking the way they speak.
They speak in, like, a fair bit of metaphor and simile.
Yeah.
And it gives that flavour. And this, to me, more than Game of Thrones, is this War of the Roses, inside of Lord of the Rings political thing. This feels like a Shakespearean play at times.
I wasn't sure whether they were going to do it for everyone, though. Like, Game of Thrones definitely had more flowery language for the highborns and everyone that was more rich, but then you had the Winterfell people that were just gruff and didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So they had a lot more balance, and I think this episode also does have a lot more balance because we actually get to see Hugh the Hammer that you were so excited to see last week. Even a few moments with him just shows the fact that this war is affecting the small folk.
This is what I'm really pleased to see.
We're getting inflation for chickens, so she has to pay 3 times as much. And I like that they're actually bothering to show that it's hitting everyone, which is why when they can put a name to the enemy, like she murdered a child, she's the reason we're going through this hard times right now. She's definitely the bad guy.
Yeah,
like,
no one likes a dead baby.
Nice
It's interesting you mentioned him, Hugh the Hammer, who in the book he's just a simple brute. And we also, much later on, and you're going to be like, what? We meet Ulf White. He's the pickpocket who notes out the dead people hanging.
Oh, yeah, okay. Because at the end, I'm like, I assume he's important now.
Yeah, because he's a recognisable actor. I've seen him couple. Okay. It's interesting, both of them are in King's Landing, where in the book they are on Dragonstone.
I mean, people can move around, I guess. There's time.
But they've moved them because they want them to be representative of small folk rising up. And, I'm not giving things away, but, their hair's white. Just point that out. We also finally meet Adam of Hull. We get a little interesting thing where Adam refers that Corlys, the Lord of High Tide, owes them. He owes them a lot, considering. And then we get a very interesting scene where we see Rhaenyra being Corlys' son. We see Rhaenyra's dragon flying.
Oh, that's who that was.
And he's looking, going,
you see, I couldn't tell whose dragon that was.
I've took a book reader's guess that that's the dragon.
Okay.
That he's seeing. And it's, funny that he's taking note of a dragon. What could that represent?
Enough with your riddles, man. Move on.
I think the big standout here scene, maybe, and there's a lot of really great standout moments, is the Rhaenyra Daemon scene.
Yes, 100%. Love that scene.
Incredibly built. I mean, I was slagging off Dragonstone last week, but the interiors of this Dragonstone are incredible. Both Red Keep and Dragonstone are like connected sets, so you get this sense that they really walk through, and yeah, I mean, that scene there was, I mean, they really let them like act, and the way it's shot.
That was where I noticed the more flowery language as well, just because they just get to monologue to each other, and it's wonderful.
It kind of reminded me roughly a bit of like Marriage Story, where it goes from very intense and very,
and we get to show him ease off midway
to go
through
for the choke, maybe, go for the old classic.
And then his last line of "it was a mistake," so he recognizes he did bad.
Matt Smith's so good at sitting cross-legged and being so smarmy. There's something about the way he does it where he's like, they're talking about shit I did and no one knows.
I like that they show that Rhaenys is smart. Like,
away.
Yeah, she knows what's going on. She's the wise one. She's our Otto Hightower, basically.
Yes, a bit more switched on.
It's semi a theme of the episode is the youth are very wild, like reactionary, and the older are much smarter.
And also it's the connection. Like we see Rhaenyra with her two young sons to Daemon, which is Aegon and Viserys. They've magically aged up a little bit more. Same with Joffrey, who's the last strong bastard. He's a little bit older.
Yeah, they show him around. I'm like, wait, never mind.
Yeah, so we see them playing, and there's an interesting bit where both Helena, she kind of takes note of the falling petals.
Is that for a future thing?
Well, I was finding it interesting because Rhaenyra kind of sees the dust flying, when she's with her kids.
Yep. Two mothers lost a son.
Two mothers, lost a son, and also their sisters. But, you forget that that's it. But yeah, there's a connection between the two of them. And I was thinking it's foreshadowing of, fire and blood and ash and stuff like that.
Yep.
Spoilers, dragons might breathe fire during this season.
Well, yeah, Harrenhal still stands up, and I remember from Game of Thrones, it was mostly melted. So,
well, it's melted in. Well, we'll get to Harrenhal.
Is that in the Dance of Dragons, or is that later?
That's Aegon the Conqueror.
Okay,
I'll get to that. That Harrenhal will be more next week.
Yes, because that's where Matt Smith runs off to after his little tiff. I just love that scene with him because it gives me everything I wanted from Daemon previously.
Exactly.
So that's why, like, all of my annoyances from last week and season 1, they're fixing them. They're actively removing everything I don't like.
Because it's stuff that's been building between these two characters for like...
From their childhood.
Yeah, from when she was 14 and he was in his 20s. And she's like, I've always I've been attracted to you because you were like that bad boy. And then the reason why Otto Hightower even wanted Rhaenyra was to get rid of Daemon, and Viserys was the same.
It's such a funny thing. Like, he's the wild card, basically. It just makes me think of Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they're planning a heist and Charlie's like, I'm the wild card. And everyone's like, no one wants a wild card. Like, why would we want to not know what someone in our team is doing? And that's Rhaenyra's whole thing, where she's like, I don't trust you. My dad didn't trust you. No one's trusted you. And then he's like, grr.
To get into a bit of it, when the initial, the War of Ravens begins, when it's just sending things off, this stuff happens over a period of weeks. Rhaenyra actually doesn't have any land. She's on Dragonstone, so she doesn't actually have a fixed point of operations. So in the book, it's just, off Daemon went to Riverrun to secure the Riverlords, and off Jace went to go and secure the North and the Eyrie. So in this, they've kept Daemon on Dragonstone, and now him going off to the Riverlands to secure Harrenhal and the Riverlords. you're left wondering, is he doing this independently? Is he doing this for himself?
He does say earlier that he's going to go to Harrenhal.
Yeah, he said this, I'm about to go for you.
He's never technically sent, so it's like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's some interesting wrinkles, that it's not it's the good blacks and the evil greens. So they've all got their shit going on.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that.
I mean, Rhaenyra's still pretty saintly. She hasn't done anything wrong in a while.
I'd say main character, we're going to have to change.
But I like Alicent had a bit more development this time, speaking of Rhaenyra. She gets that motherly input that I was after. And she blames herself because she realizes she's not doing the best of things.
Well, she's a religious person.
Yeah, she's like, I've sinned.
So it's kind of a bit of both when she says I'm sinned. So because I've sinned, I've been punished. But also, if I wasn't riding Kristen Cole's pole, maybe he would have been managing the house guards better.
So the gods are punishing me, but also...
Practically, if I wasn't getting it, he would have maybe been on guard. It's weird because the King's Guard is 7. So he manages 6 King's Guard. Yeah, and then the household guard. Right. He's in charge of the securing of the Red Keep and who walks around. Yeah. And as Arryk points out...
Doesn't matter anymore.
He's like, hey, dickhead, why wasn't the Queen given a sworn sword immediately? You know, it's true. They don't bring it up, but I like that Aegon kills all the rat catchers instead of simply asking his wife, hey, which one was it? Like, and just having like them all line up and going... The
brash of youth once more.
Exactly.
He just lashes out.
And also he wants to let everyone know I'm not fucking around because he's really worried about seeming weak.
Which Otto says was the wrong thing to do, which is good because in Otto's probably last scene for a little while, he goes through the fact that Aegon's an idiot, which he's been hinting at.
With that, I mean, to jump ahead to that scene, it's incredible because it's Otto realising that the last 20 years of planning and he didn't foresee even though they all should have foreseen that Aegon hasn't been parented well, which is why they've explained that he really wanted to be a good dad to this lad because he wasn't loved. I mean, Kristen Cole was the guy teaching him how to do swords and stuff, but at least can maybe come across as being an honourable man. Like at a glance, Kristen Cole seems like an honourable sort. He's in the Kingsguard. Otto realises that he really had it good with Vizzy T and maybe should have held on a bit.
It's a really good moment, where he's like, and we're worse for it that Viserys is dead. Because in fairness, he never wanted Viserys to die.
No, he didn't.
He probably would have been very happy if Viserys lived till he was an old man.
His motivation comes from both control and also a hatred of Daemon. Yep. He doesn't want Daemon near that throne. I mean, all men, you want to get into it, he's a second son. For a second son to become basically the prime minister of the country, he probably wouldn't mind having his daughter and then his grandsire's in charge of the country alongside him. And he probably sees that as,
I got some too.
I've got some too, and he doesn't want war. And he's always like proving for patience. So he's so annoyed when that happens, and then when we get told that Arryk's been sent to go do the most ludicrous, he even says, is this a prank? Are you fucking with me right now?
I saw it coming pretty quickly because you're like, oh, I think I was expecting a few episodes time. I was like, it'd be good if Arryk has to impersonate Erryk or vice versa.
Oh, you thinking that?
Yeah, I'm like, that'll be a fun little like subterfuge bit because why else make them twins? Like, that's the most fun you can have with it. But then just for the fact it's Kristen Cole's dumb idea to like win back his honor, basically.
Yeah, which is because in the book it's not at all implied that he's sleeping with Alicent, I think. At least it's not brought to the forefront. I was really happy. I mean, it was one of the lines that we all wanted to see because it's one of the few bits of dialogue in the book where he goes, my new hand is a steel fist.
Right.
And I'm like, I was there going, he fucking said the line. Such a good line. He fucking said it.
But that's exactly what we don't want because now the small folk are like, oh good, our king murders us.
Yes, murders us when we dick around.
Otto does talk about how he wants peace. He wanted Rhaenyra deleted immediately, which would have been peace. Only one person has to die, and then my grandson gets his reign. But now he's like, all right, well, if we get everyone on side and Rhaenyra looks like the bad guy, then there won't be a big war because everyone will turn on her. So we'll still get peace, less peace, but peace. But now it's just going to be an all-out war, and he's slowly like, God damn it.
Well, he sits down with his daughter for the last time for a while. He's like, it's fucked, so I'm going to have to go to Hightower. So
there's nothing more he can do there, so.
I know what Hightower is, but I doubt you do.
It barely even comes up in Game of Thrones.
Hightower's in Old Town. Old Town's the oldest town.
I know it's religious.
Yeah, it's in the Reach. People thought that's when Aegon the Conqueror came in. Aegon would settle in Old Town, but he didn't. He built King's Landing in the disputed lands between two different countries. So they're now known as the Crown Lands. Okay. In the last episode, Aemond and Kristen Cole were discussing how since a lot of the Crown Land houses are hailing for Rhaenyra, they're like, we can roll through there, get them on side, then head straight up the Harrenhal because we need to control there. So they do try their best. You've got the map looking like a bloody D&D game in the room. Like,
I enjoy that they show how it's lit because it's like they've like shiddled it out.
great bit of prod design, that board back in. I mean,
It looks fantastic.
So
It needs to get more love.
Yeah, it's
but
so
I'm glad
great.
they at least have all their meetings around it.
But yeah, Old Town is in the Reach, and even though they're a powerful house, they're not in charge of the Reach. The Tyrells are.
She does bring up.
She says, now you need to go because they're the only ones of the Reach who have actually claimed for Aegon, where, at least in the books, it's either they are claimed or the Tyrells particular are a bit, I don't know, maybe we'll just hang back here, which is very true to the Tyrell
looking
house.
after themselves. Yeah.
So, but I imagine there's a lot of show watchers going, the fuck, another son? Because we finally get Daeron reference, and I was punching the air like, fuck yeah, Daeron's confirmed.
Yeah, no idea who he is, but it's
so
another son.
Stupid because in the funeral episode in season 1, Aemon was meant to go to Otto. Hey, where's my youngest brother? But I bet now they wish they just simply hired some 6-year-old boy and had him just at the funeral,
Just around.
just so he was there.
Most people won't notice.
But don't you think there's going to be some people who don't have a clue? Like,
They
what?
won't, but they can give it some lines and people will be like, okay. Like
Yeah.
this episode definitely set it up. So now if they show another kid, I'm hoping we do get some with Otto and Daeron because then we can get him set up a little bit. And also I like that we're moving out a bit more. We're showing more places, more things because it allows for more interweaving story.
One could argue that this is maybe the problem. They are so committed to the book. You know, you get a lot of names, a lot of places, but they're really good at keeping the core. That's why I think they've pushed this Team Green, Team Black stuff because it keeps it simple.
Yeah, more marketable to the small folk.
To small folk, there you go. But what I really liked about that scene is that Alicent goes, I've sinned. And then he goes in a warming way, but he says, I don't care to hear it.
Yes.
Which
it's not important anymore.
It's not important. He gives her a smile. She walks off, walks into Aegon's room, finds him absolutely bereft, still in tears, and she doesn't comfort him. So you see the Hightower's fault is that parents don't comfort their children.
They're not good at parenting.
They're not good at parenting. And then you get this one moment earlier where Aegon and Elena meet at the steps. And I saw it as being more of a cold moment, but in both the behind the scenes and Tom talking about it, they see it as a connection moment, that it's a small moment where the two of them acknowledge that we've both lost a kid together.
Yeah.
I don't know, how did you view that scene, that moment?
I don't even remember that scene, honestly.
Well, it's a non-verbal scene, and it's just they said it's meant to show that they're somewhat acknowledging that both of them are in a lot of pain right now, but I read it more as Aegon doesn't know what to say to his sister wife.
They're so far apart, they don't have anything in common apart from that kid that's now gone.
Yes,
I guess they've got other kids, but yes. Continuing with good moments with characters that I wanted more good moments with, we get Jacaerys Targaryen.
With Baela, who's the eldest of Daemon's daughters.
Yes. Are they married yet? Did they get married off
No,
screen?
they're promised.
They're still just betrothed? Okay.
By the way, wonderful outfits. I mean, the outfits are already good, but they've definitely stepped
I love
it
that it
up
feels
this
lived
time.
in. It doesn't feel like cosplay at all, which is every other show.
And they're already on theme. They're black and red. Like, I mean, you just go with it. But, you know, I can believe maybe someone went, I need you to go seam this up right now. In the books, they were already doing the black and green stuff for years. And Viserys was just too daft to notice.
Right.
That scene's great. It shows that there's a connection between the two of them that we don't get in the book because it's not a narrative.
That's the thing. It's just what I wanted. More quiet moments where people aren't doing plot stuff. They can actually just do character stuff. Realistically, they don't do anything. Like, it's such a small moment, but it's just nice to even give them screen time and to get us more of their personalities. And they do actually like each other.
And she speaks of Harwin Strong and both his dads in a sense, which is nice. And then we get, you know, on the opposite end,
we cut straight to
my boy Aemon, and to follow on the fact that he clearly isn't mothered enough.
This probably would have been good to cut to. I get why they cut from Jace to Aemond because they're close to the same age and killed his brother and all that stuff. But it probably would have been good to go, from a mothering angle straight to him getting cradled.
I really like that scene. It's not obviously it's an addition, but then you can view it as that this is the truth, and that since that's a textbook in world, it's a history book based on a history book based on accounts, so that you can say some stuff got mixed.
Yeah. Whereas we see this.
50 Shades of Grey is unrealistic because a guy who's in charge all day and a billionaire and is the boss of every room he walks in would not then be a dominant. He would be a sub at the end of the day.
He'd want to be. Corlys talks about wanting to be, how he's a sub sometimes, and he's happy with that.
Does he? When does he say that?
When they're in bed together.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's the joke there, is that she's queen sometimes, and it's queen in bed, baby.
Yeah. You know, he rides the biggest dragon. He's the brother to the king. He's a great sword. So whenever he walks, everyone's like, that's badass Aemond. So it makes sense that he just wants to be cradled by an older woman.
He's just a little baby boy.
And he just wants to be mothered. So, I mean, that's his whole thing. He wants to rest his head, and we get that he does regret what happened.
Although there's obviously still sex going on there, because he says, not right now. So it's still a sexual thing, but obviously mummy things can become sexual things.
And we reveal that, you with me then? And she once again reminds that, hey, small folk, right? And then I think that's when we cut to Hugh the Hammer from there. So we go from small folk to small folk.
Yeah, it's building and building. I can only assume the small folk are actually going to matter, even if I guess they don't technically turn the tide in any way. It's still nice to see the effect of the Valeron fleet isn't delivering food anymore. So it is good to see that it's a siege. It's a very light siege, but it's affecting them. So
exactly. And it's really, it's something that the latest season of Game of Thrones chose to forget.
Which is weird, considering all of Daenerys' reign was brought up by the people of Meereen. And
you had the whole bit where the Tyrells were bringing in food to King's Landing, and because the winter was coming.
And if they ever get sieged, they can put it all in their castle and they'll be fine forever.
But then all of a sudden you get Cersei blowing up the Sept and getting no callback from the church in Old Town or any particular houses.
It was an accident. Whoopsies. But it just never came up again.
Because that she's queen.
There was no time.
No time. It became plot of a character, where with this, it's like character stuff, which obviously we're loving. But yeah, with Aemond, to see that, and obviously to see the eye out, because it's probably expensive to have the diamond, the sapphire eye.
He's comfortable.
Yeah, it's weird because in the book he always has it out because obviously it's a book that he tries to make that his strength. But in this, I think they're trying to make it that it's a weakness. That yes, it's really cool they did the sapphire thing. It's something that D&D would never dream to do. Great scene. It shows a lot about the character, and just that he's still just that little boy who was bullied.
He's trying to be the best, but he's not vindictive.
And he's fangirling over Daemon still. He's like, I'm kind of, he really fancies himself as the next Daemon.
Yeah. And the fact that he thinks he actually is important enough. He's like, okay, cool. People actually do respect me.
People
they
want to
take me out.
Yeah, which is, it shows the little boy that's still in there.
Is the Adam and Alan scene, does that really matter? Or is it just to show them again?
It's to show them because they are going to be quite important.
Okay, cool.
Okay. They're working for House Valerian. Corlys owes them something, and he's touched base. I just want to scream it at you at this point. But,
okay. Spoilers.
You want me to just chuck it at you right now?
Yeah, sure.
They're Corlys's bastard sons.
Oh, okay.
Which,
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Go,
although the brother does look a lot more like him.
He's going to go eventually. They're Laenor's bastard sons. And everyone goes, Laenor's gay, though.
How old are these people? Because they look Rhaenyra's age. They look older than Rhaenyra. I can see it being Corlys' bastards, but even thinking that it's Laenor's, he had them when he was 1. What?
Exactly.
Especially in this show. That's one thing they haven't fixed.
The ages are still weird.
Yeah, they haven't bothered to grey anyone up. Seeing Alicent comfort Helena when they look the same age.
When Aegon calls her mother, which is a nice bit because we say that Alicent is there when he goes,
Otto
Mother,
looks
what do I do?
Old.
Yeah,
Otto looks the right
correct
age.
It's weird. And same with Cole's meant to be in his 40s.
That's annoying me at this point.
They haven't even grade him a little bit. I saw someone saying they wanted to be Matt Berry. I saw someone doing Lucerys Jacaerys Velaryon, you pair of bastards. It would have been a great choice for an older Cole.
But they need... Kristen Cole is just annoying me at this point. I mean, again, he's supposed to be...
Ultimate failing upwards.
Yes, and just the fact that he's like, oh, I did bad. I shouldn't do this anymore. And then, I'm now the hand. Okay, guess I'll keep banging the queen.
And then he hates on Arryk because he goes, hey, you sullied your cloak. But he's just kind of putting on his own frustration, which Arryk then challenged him going, hey, dickhead, you've got 6 people to manage and you can't fucking do that.
I felt that he was just, lashing out. But then he turns it into a way to make Arryk go and do the stupid thing of...
And Cole can look all right.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a gamble on their part.
It's him thinking he has a good idea that isn't actually a very good idea.
They've mixed around because that's the first thing that is done. Well, he becomes Hand of the King, and then the first thing he does is go, hey, Arryk, do us a favour.
I did see a comment that was saying, I have no idea how Aegon's gonna make Kristen Cole in charge if Kristen Cole is the reason his son died. But I think they handled that quite well here, actually, at least from a show perspective.
Incredibly emotional decision.
Yeah, where it's he's the closest guy. He did something I think was smart, even though it wasn't. I'm going to make him in charge now.
It makes sense that Aegon would look at Cole as he's the guy who always does as he's told. He pushes for action.
Helped train me.
Helped train me. And we do see that he has some tactical minds, and he has obviously in his younger years fought in the Dornish War.
But probably more importantly, he was very close to me when I needed a new hand.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he happened to be in the room when I needed a new hand.
Fuck you, Otto. Hand it over to this
You can
guy.
imagine Laris going, he promoted who?
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I was thinking. Laris is probably like very annoyed when he found out because he's like, I was just in the wrong place. If I was just right there.
If I was just right there, he could have chucked me one. You know, I gave him blood.
Yeah, he comes in. He's just like, fuck, if only Otto was out of the way.
Exactly.
Which it would be a very funny scene. I
If we
kind of hope it comes
As he
in.
angry masturbates over feet pics or something. Feet drawings.
I just need Laris angrily, like every time Kristen Cole walks past, he's just like,
I must have.
or if he tries to get Kristen Cole killed, but I don't know if that's in the book. So again, they have to work on the framework.
Yeah, like look, the actor for Kristen Cole, Fabian, wonderful job, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's done a wonderful job. Reese Ifans in that scene, kind of the joke of him in the first episode when he's walking away from Aegon. In this, he's like, fucking hell, like full on, like, you know, Ben Affleck with the cigarette, like, fucking hell, dickhead, I can't cope with this shit. So he kind of wants to quit.
The fantastic line of, my father made me king, and he's like, really? You think it was him?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I spent 10 years plotting for you. It's kind of echoing another famous hand in future history, and that's Tywin. You could say, in that he both sees his children as pawns, and Alicent was a good pawn.
Legacy is the most important thing.
Yeah, but like he forgets to see them as individuals, and that if he actually paid attention to Aegon and probably thought, maybe this guy isn't best to slap a crown on, and maybe I should focus on him and make sure he understands things, because you know, because that's what you're getting there, where he's realizing that he can't quite control him, and that him just going, just sit back and let me do it for you, isn't like Viserys used to be all for that.
Yeah.
Because Viserys was half dead for 10 years. But now he's got a young man whose son's just died. It's hard to keep him, you know. So giving it to Cole, I mean, as people are saying online, failing upwards, makes you hate Cole all the more. Like, fucking hell, really? Cole gets the promotion?
I don't know if he does, haven't read the book, but if he gets comeuppance, that'll be a very nice episode for me. I'll be happily watching Kristen get something bad.
I'm really glad to see that we don't have to worry about the spider anymore. I don't know. Every time I see her, I'm slightly uninterested in that character.
I mean, we don't know if she actually left, though.
Yeah, we don't.
She might have actually called the Red Guard to come back.
Yeah, she did say wait, which I took as being an implication that she was alerting the guards that she was suspicious.
Which she might have, but also if she sticks around, she'll be rewarded for it.
Yeah.
So then instead of being a poor person leaving, maybe it seems like she doesn't want a position of power, maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe if she got something nice out of it. Because otherwise there was no real reason for her to say wait.
We get to the crescendo of the episode, and that is Arryk versus Erryk.
That was a very tense scene, though. That was very well done.
Yeah, I loved it. In the book, you're giving
It's a little dumb that no one ever thought this might happen. Like, that there was no code word, or like,
should we get a different Kingsguard like outfit, like just in case? So should we have black Kingsguard?
I kind of forgot that they wear the exact same Kingsguard cloak, because before he left, I'm like, oh, he's gonna have to get changed or like knock out a guard and take his clothes.
He would be in a hoodie, but he just rocked up. I guess he thought, you know, the moment I'm there, people will just assume it's me.
And I was like, how's he gonna sneak in? And turns out, no, just boats go between King's Landing
walk up
there
to the door.
and just
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely wonderful.
They're lucky they shot this really well. Like,
shot so well.
Because it's a pretty dumb concept just because it is like no one had security.
Silly. It's very Shakespeare.
But they take itself very seriously.
It's so Shakespeare though, and like Shakespeare would write something like this. In the book, you're given the choice of the romantic version that most minstrels, and that's the two brothers declare their love for each other, fight for some time, and people around them are like, which is which?
Yep.
And then they both die.
That was a very funny moment. It's like which of the...
I'm so glad they did that. No one knows who it is, but I actually think Arryk is the one who kills Erryk, and then he kills himself. So then it adds that extra level of tragedy that...
Erryk won the fight because they...
You think Erryk won?
Yes.
I think they're actually purposely have made it unsure because they both have... They're sitting behind the scenes. They gave them the same
they both
wounds.
get a leg slash? Okay.
And people are saying... By their
she says my queen at the end,
you tore
though.
us apart. Yeah. So, but either way it works. Like if it was Arryk, the guy who came to kill the queen, he's just killed his brother and he's like, I can't fucking do it. It's not worth it. And it adds that extra layer of dying on his sword.
I would prefer it if it's that, but I think in my brain, Erryk won and then is like, I couldn't let him kill you.
Yeah.
But also now that he's
both
gone,
works, though.
I might as well die. Yes, both work incredibly well.
Yeah, kinslaying and all that. I half expected you to go, oh, there should have been a 6-part spin-off series called Arryk and Erryk, the brothers who never fought. And then I would have been really emotionally invested.
No, because we actually saw them a lot. We had a surprising amount of time with these two guys last season, and we actually showed that they both...
the whole episode.
Yeah, they get to go on their little adventure, which is why this worked for me, because I knew who the fuck they were. After they rescue Aegon, and Aemon comes to get Aegon, we actually see one of the brothers go, no, I don't know. But yes, he's actually been quite important to the series, so I think this actually worked really well.
And also it represents...
I don't want much. I just want a little bit, right?
So, that it's a small scale of what's to come, family on family violence, and it's what this will be. It's that you've got brothers, you've got the closest of brothers killing each other over this stuff. It's getting serious now.
I'm hoping we get a couple of scenes, or at least maybe someone should have said it to her, because she says she doesn't want the death of a small child. When it's like, you're about to go to war. You're about to have the death of a lot of small children. And you think Aegon's child will be allowed to live in this big war?
And these higher-ups aren't thinking about, and there's plenty of children at the Dragon Pit when Rhaenyra's tore through. And they don't think about them. And that's a constant theme in George's work, that we only follow the 1% mainly of this world, and they never seem to give much consideration.
Yeah.
And you see that with Aegon trying to be the nice king,
but then murdering a bunch of them.
He's now murdering a bunch of them because he's got hurt. I could gush over almost every scene of this because, one, I'm such a huge fan, but here what they're doing and adding to these characters is brilliant so far.
So what didn't you like? What did they take from the book that you think they spun the wrong way? Anything law breaking?
No, so far as someone who come from the book, I think the decisions they've made are better for the narrative, like viewing this as a narrative. If in episode 1 you just take Rhaenyra and go, Daemon, my loving husband, please go take the Riverlands for me. And that is what the book is, because the book is so far away from those characters because it's a history text, which I keep fucking saying.
They're handling everything well. Did you have anything you didn't like? Because I can't just be the negative one.
No, well, honestly, I'll go through my notes and I don't have a negative.
None?
But that's not to say I'm going to turn around and say, 10 out of 10, amazing programming.
Almost nothing's 10 out of 10. We'll leave it up to the comments to find something they hate, something the book ruined, because apparently they reckon they ruined Blood and Cheese, but from a show perspective, I was very happy with Blood and Cheese.
Yeah, it's sure Blood and Cheese could have been maybe done a little bit better. We saw the dog was fine. A lot of people are really worried about the dog. We're going to be moving into more the battle stuff, so episode 4 will be a fairly significant battle moment, for sure. So to be able to get this, and probably some of next week, is a lot of character work. I thought they've done such a good job. It proves that it's overall it's the economy of storytelling, that you can do and say a lot with a character if you give them those good scenes. And there was times there where I was like classic Game of Thrones a little bit, was like, man, I'm going to watch this scene by itself on YouTube later. I'm going to watch Aegon dismissing Otto as its own wonderful scene, or Rhaenyra and Daemon. Yeah. It's wonderful, and to be so after watching Doctor Who and getting through Acolyte, it's just wonderful to actually have a show where everyone is giving it their 10 out of 10.
Even The Boys isn't making me feel like this show.
Yeah, even The Boys, you feel like you're watching you're watching HBO.
I'm watching good stuff.
You're watching the top of the line stuff, and I already can't wait next week.
Heck
Thanks for watching.